Hey guys, this is Bill Rice from Kaleido. We're a digital marketing agency, and today I wanted to take a quick few minutes to talk about an announcement that Google made yesterday about how they're rolling out a new feature in specifically the mobile Google search experience and the Google app. And I think this change is going to significantly impact how we think about some of our SEO strategy and definitely some of our content creation that supports what we're feeding into the Google search engine. So back in a second, I'm going to break all this down and outline some things that I think we need to make adjustments in as we consider our SEO and our content strategy. See you in a sec. Okay, so let's take a look at what Google has announced. So in this announcement yesterday, which came out of came from their product manager of their search, the title is Pick Up Where You Left Off on Search. And really, as they kind of outline it, it actually looks similar, and you can tell that they're trying to accommodate a lot of behaviors that you and I definitely are already trying to accomplish in different ways. So if you were to look at this article and you were to look, and we'll have the link to it in the show notes, but if you were to look at the article and look at some of the animation, from an aesthetic standpoint, it looks a lot like maybe Pinterest. And it definitely is satisfying some of the things that we're doing probably with Evernote or Pocket, or I'm most recently using Google Keep actually. And so when you're doing research and when you're looking through the web, oftentimes you're trying to save different URLs so that you can use them in some other product or activity or project that you're doing. And so you're sort of cobbling together all of these different links and you're putting them into some sort of note structure. So now what Google's allowing you to do is to actually, as you're researching that, is to bucket that content into what they're calling activity cards and allowing you to sort of, as they're talking about it, using their language, to sort of run a longer term search or task or research item by sort of allowing you to save these. So there's a couple of things that I think are happening here that's important to kind of break down. One, essentially, Google is trying to create for you, or creating, and like I said, a lot of us are trying to do this in other ways, but they're essentially giving you the opportunity to create somewhat of a personal search engine. So if you use Evernote, you probably turned on the functionality or used the functionality where you're searching in Evernote, and it allows you to bring up everything related to that. It even reaches out on the web and pulls in some of the content that's related. And then if you've got it turned on in your browser, you can actually search and then it'll bring in Evernote content. And so kind of a similar feel to what's happening here with Google Search. So now in Google Search, essentially you do a search, maybe something you searched for before, it's going to allow you to capture and make sure that you see the other related content you looked for in the past. And then also in the kind of the nature of a personal search, also let you see other things that you've searched for that relates to what you're researching now. So there's this concept of sort of a personal search engine that's being developed. And I think that impacts how we think about approaching our customer and really kind of thinking through the journey, especially as we're talking about sort of commercial applications. So if you're supporting B2B clients like we are, a lot of times the sales cycle is really long, and people are doing research and bringing together information in order to make a business case for a product or a purchase or a deployment or something like that. And so we could definitely see this being used by those type of users. And so as we're creating content, we want to make sure that we're creating the type of documents and content that they'll want to pull together in one of those activity cards. So the personal engine, search engine. The other thing that I think is going to be important about this change is I would suspect that Google is definitely going to start tracking how often your content is actually put into these activity cards, because that's giving, again, like the old days of the backlink, this activity card is showing that there is some value to the content you're creating. So I think as SEO folks and as content creators in the future, as this becomes more popular, and if users really start to adopt this kind of behavior, we're going to be playing for getting more of our content in these activity cards, so that Google is getting those signals that, again, increase the impact of our content in the search engine. Then the other thing is, as a result of why someone would actually put content in an activity card. So when people do search, they're probably not going to put in sort of fluffy stuff. They're probably going to put in stuff that is authoritative. So the concept of guides and longer content, and those sorts of pieces of content that are really meaty and long. Something that I already talked about in our kind of a New Year kickoff, where we're talking about some of the new website strategies that we're looking into. I think this longer form consolidating and making more authoritative sort of guide-like content is going to become increasingly important, because not only in just kind of the way Google is already treating it and we're seeing results, but with features like this, that's the kind of content that people are going to, so quote unquote, bookmark or save for later in these activity cards. So those are three big things that I think we need to be thinking about as we think about this feature, and then watch sort of the behavior and the adoption of this feature, because if it really takes off, if users really like to do their searches like this, then we're going to need to think about those three things. Like, how do we appeal and make sure that our content is in people's personal search engines? Number two, is Google going to use that as a signal? I guarantee you they are. So how do we play for positioning on those activity cards and get people to save us and bookmark them into there? And then the third one is just thinking about the type of content that is most useful and would be most likely to be put into those activity cards. So hope that helps. If you have any questions, there's contact information around here. Definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, so that we'll do more like this. And then the other thing is subscribe. We're doing a lot more content this year, so you definitely want to subscribe and hit that notify bell so that you know when we're updating you on important things like this that could impact your marketing strategy. Hope to see you on the next video.